Nice to meet you. I'm losing my ever-loving mind. I don't know that I can actually review this game. I love factory games, I even like this game quite a bit, but ever since I thought about how exactly this game functions, I've been going crazy. Let's take a step back in this video about a factory sim, and talk about Balatro. It took me a long time to get into Balatro. I knew I would like it, but something didn't quite sit right with me. Roguelike games are nothing new. Start from scratch every time, gain random benefits throughout your attempt, and sometimes even make permanent progress to help future runs go a bit smoother. And don't get me wrong, Balatro is a great example of this. If anything, it might be the perfect example, because that's just about all that it is. Balatro is a game that has stripped away all of the other elements to make a game that is as pure as a roguelike game can get. It is numbers. If your number is high enough, you win. If not, you lose. And it's great. It's addictive and fun, and I love it. What was this video about? Right, shapes. Shapez 2 is a factory game where you make shapes. That's all. In most factory games, you have a sort of progression system. You gather iron to make iron ingots, to make iron doodads, to make machines that either help you make more doodads or improve some other facet of gameplay. In Shapez, you make shapes and then make more shapes. You do unlock new methods of making and changing shapes, and there are plenty of ways to improve your facility, but the game is not about growing your factory to new heights. Unlike my previous example, in this game there are many times where you will slowly build up to a bigger and better shape, only to entirely scrap that section of the factory when that shape is no longer needed. It isn't that you have a better way to make it, you literally just don't need it anymore, because you aren't building a component that makes something else, you are painting a circle red and shooting it off into the void. Now, after this crazy person rant, it would be reasonable to believe that I don't like this game. There's absolutely no cohesion to anything aside from the fact that you are always making shapes that do nothing for anyone. But actually, it's really fun. One thing about most factory games is that those early resources are always valuable. If you start to realize better ways to make things later on, you might have to break apart something that is important to other parts of the factory. But in Shapez, if you make a poorly optimized factory, you can just wait until you don't need that shape anymore and destroy it completely. Similarly to how Balatro boiled everything down until the only parts left were the important gameplay aspects, Shapez doesn't care about any system if it isn't about making shapes. There are no costs to build factories, there is no limit to how much space or how many resources you can find. The shapes will always be there, and you can always build almost as much as you want. I say almost because there is one caveat. After a few preliminary shape requests, you eventually expand into the vast reaches of space! Because that, of course, is where shapes come from. And while you can build an utterly astonishing amount of things, at this point you are slightly limited by how many platforms you're allowed to build. But that is literally the only thing you can't build infinitely in the entire game. I guess the line had to be drawn somewhere. And it's not like there are no reasons to keep going. You do unlock research points and fancier tech to make more and more stuff. Shapez 2 has all the essentials of any factory game. It's just that it doesn't have literally anything else. And honestly, I think I love that idea. It's quite possibly the most time-wasting a video game can be, but it knows that, and it constantly encourages you to push forward and improve. Tearing down and rebuilding mixed with higher volume requests means you're going to be pushing harder and harder, finding new ways to build and rebuild and build even more, all so that you can reach that final goal of creating whatever the hell this thing is. God bless. Please subscribe, I'm just a disembodied voice. It would really help my confidence.